with how you know and how you say you feel. Okay? So understanding true non-dualism is part of being in connection with the true self. Non-contradiction in thought, emotion, and action. The true self understands, espouses, and works toward true freedom. You understand, if you're connected with the true self, you understand that the goal of everything is freedom. That's the goal. The goal is not to be enslaved anymore, to end enslavement, so that we ultimately can direct our future evolutionary development in consciousness. Okay? And we're not being held back from doing that. That's what, by definition, slavery is doing. And we are in that condition of slavery right now. To be connected with the true self means that our worldview will reflect an understanding that there is no true separation between ourselves and others. Again, that we are truly one at a unified level of existence. It doesn't mean that, I have the same hand or arm as somebody else, of course. You're going to respect people's physical boundaries in the physical domain, but you understand ultimately that we are one consciousness that is having an experience here in the physical domain. The true self doesn't exist in a mental schism or ego identification, which I'll be getting to. It seeks to break down institutionalized belief systems that hold back the progress of consciousness, which we'll also be talking about. And it is concerned with the alleviation of suffering for all beings, for all consciousness, not just the alleviation of suffering for oneself. How does this differ with the false self, the notion of the ego entrenched illusion that many people are trapped in? Someone who's trapped in ego, identified with the false self, the flesh only, okay, doesn't understand self-ownership or sovereignty at all, and doesn't really care about it either. They don't understand natural law at all, or care about it. Their behavior is in opposition or duality, okay? They live in perpetual dualism, perpetual contradiction between their thoughts, emotions, and actions. They will constantly do things that are in contradiction with what they say they know and how they say they feel. They can't even envision true freedom. Forget even asking them what freedom is or means. They have no conception of it whatsoever. They don't care about it. They don't care whether slavery is present. Okay? And in many cases, they're people who are just seeking more and more control because they're in super left brain dominance. They're completely attached to a false worldview of separation, that everything is separate and it's us versus nature. We're not part of it, a holistic part of it. They exist in mental schism, as we've already talked about, and ego identification, which we'll get to. They accept and reinforce almost all the institutionalized belief systems here on the earth that hold back the progress of consciousness. And they are totally unconcerned with the suffering of others. In many cases, they're so destroyed and imbalanced, they don't even care about their own suffering anymore. They just look at that as, oh, that's inevitable, and why not just create some more of it, and self-inflict it. So they think only about themselves, maybe their own, their extended family or whatever, maybe, and could care less about whether the world is in total bondage and total suffering or not. Part of understanding the true self is knowing what human nature is really about. And again, this is another big point of contention with my work with a lot of people, because so many people are attached toward believing that human nature is one way or another. And when I get up here and tell people human nature is neither good nor bad, okay, human nature is that we are beings that are capable of being programmed. We have a programmable nature like a computer has a programmable nature. Please note, I did not say that human beings are computers, because I do not believe that. Okay? We have a nature that is similar to a computer in that it can be programmed to output a certain mode of behavior. Okay? Human beings are programmable, much like computers. Like a computer, if a human being has a bad hard drive format, That's the first thing you do when you get a computer. You format the hard drive. You're laying the file system into the drive to prepare it to receive an operating system. Okay? That's what is the conditions that are like a child's formative years. Why do you think it's called the formative years? A format's being laid down. And they just accept everything in the first 6 years of development. That's why a child's formative years are so crucially important to the being they're going to become. Okay? If a computer has a bad operating system, a lot of people out there are running computers with bad or infected operating systems. Well, do they compute really well? Not too well. You know, they don't present the desired output onto the screen or onto the printer or onto the internet. And that operating system is the culture we're living in, the system in which we are operating. And that system is corrupted. It's running viruses all over the place. Okay? If a human being has bad software programs installed that are buggy, all the code is buggy. Okay, it's not based in truth. It's bad code. Well, what happens when you run a piece of software that is totally buggy? It crashes, it spits out horrible output. Okay? And that's like our belief systems. Are they in alignment with truth, or are they completely erroneous and we're holding on to them in a rigid and dogmatic way, even though they're false? Well, what's going to be output onto the screen? The output, which is human behavior, is also going to be bad if all those former things are bad. You load up a computer with all that bad stuff, you're not going to get good output on any output device you're going out to. You're going to get junk. So if the hard drive format, the conditions during the formative years, the operating system or culture, and the software programs or beliefs are bad, the output onto the screen, which we call life, the behavior, will also be bad. And it will contribute to deteriorating conditions on a mass scale. Like a computer, the behavior of a human being will largely depend upon its programming, the quality of the information that has been put into it, which enables it to process and create efficiently. So if garbage goes in, garbage comes out. If quality goes in, quality comes out. That is how our nature works. We are programmable. We are the programmer as well. We can change the code. See, that's where free will comes into the picture. We are not at the mercy. This does not mean you are at the mercy of your environment. We can decide what goes into us through diet, through what we are going to pay attention to, or consider, or take into our mental selves. Okay? So that's actually highly encouraging when it comes to the development of the self and knowing the self, that we are in control of that process. It's not just something that is being done to us. Next point, being awake means knowing that there are both spiritual and physical realities, neither of which take precedence over the other. Again, a point of balance needs to be understood and struck when it comes to this. This is what real non-duality when it comes to the whole universe is all about, the non-duality of spirit and matter. Again, you have scientific materialists that are talking about the primacy of matter and how it's so ultimately important and that there's no such thing as spirit. And then you have religious groups or New Agers talking about spirit is all that matters, this world doesn't matter, it's an illusion, and spirit is of primacy. Well, these are both left brain and right brain imbalanced worldviews. There's no balance in either one of those perspectives. It's not being awake. Being awake means spirit in the flesh. Go back to that theme, okay? Spirit in the flesh. We are spiritual beings, but we are also material beings, having an experience in the material domain. So what is that right there? Is that the physical world or is that the spiritual world? Well, guess what? Newsflash, folks, it's both. It's both. It's one thing. Okay? So this dichotomy between spirit and matter needs to go. It needs to merge. It's just one thing. It's everything. Okay? Spirit isn't superior to matter. Matter isn't superior to spirit. They're both the same thing. Well, where did we even get into this notion that they're separate? How could they be separate? Okay? Well, yes, the physical matter, you look at this under high enough magnification, it would look like disorganized chaos and random motion of particles. Okay, I get it. I understand the whole quantum reality, you know. While at some level, at the ultimate level, the unified field level, yeah, this material world isn't solid at all, okay? We could look at matter as an illusion in that regard if you want. That's fine to look at it as an illusion in that regard. But that doesn't mean that you dismiss what happens here, okay? Because what happens here is of significance and importance. Why is that? Because the experience that is being gained and learned from so that the consciousness of the all can learn and grow is very real. So it doesn't mean because you understand that at the ultimate level things are an illusion. The physical material realm is illusory at some level. It doesn't mean you don't act. It doesn't mean that you dismiss the importance of what happens in the physical realm. No, because the experience that is being gained in the physical realm is real. And if that experience is ongoing suffering and slavery, that should be changed. That should be ended. You know, there is a difference between something that is good and something that is bad. It's not just an experience. It's an experience that we have a say in. Okay? What happens here does matter. It does matter. Spirit in the flesh, head in the stars, feet on the earth. Okay? Being awake means being out of ego identification and ego attachment. So what are these things? What is the state of ego identification? This is the identifying with the role that we are playing in the world of the flesh, in the world of matter. So these are the people who think, I am my blank, fill in the blank. I am my relationships. I am my social status. I am my job. I am my profession. I am my country. Okay? Well, is that how you identify? You know, if somebody asks you, what are you? Who are you? You know, do you say, I am my job? I mean, I do the work of public presenting. I do